Keeping safety front of mind is all about communication. Welcome to the Farm Safety Roundup, a podcast series focused on important conversations to help keep farmers, their families, and their workers safe. Farm Safety Roundup is brought to you by the agricultural team at Workplace Safety and Prevention Services. With today's timely topic, I'm your host, Shaun Haney. Let's get to it. And welcome back to another episode of the Farm Safety Roundup. I'm Shaun Haney of RealAgriculture.com. And we're going to be digging into more important topics around farm safety. You know, today we're in the middle of harvest here, or harvest is underway in different parts of the country. And there's no shortage of challenges for those who are making farming a way of life. With so many priorities, health and safety can sometimes take just a little bit of a back seat, so to speak. But fact is, this sector of agriculture, it is a high rate of lost time injuries, causing pain and suffering, but also creating an economic burden for the farm. And we need to recognize that. Keeping Canadian farms safe and helping farm operators meet their legal obligations, important legal obligations, is the focus of the Farm Safety Roundup here today. And we're going to be getting back to some of the basics and giving you some practical things to chew on. If you have employees on your farm, you have rules, and also that can include family members as well. So let's start there with today's guest. It is Jay Remsik. Jay is a health and safety consultant with WSPS. Jay, great to have you here with us today.
Thanks, Shaun.
So Jay, let's talk about these rules and the shared responsibility that people on the farm have towards farm safety.
Yeah, when we talk about the shared responsibility, we commonly, as consultants, would refer to that as the internal responsibility system. And when I'm out and I'm conducting sessions or training, and I've got attendees, in the class, one of the things, whatever, that I would ask is, well, who's responsible for health and safety? And the various answers that we get, well, it's the employer, or it's the supervisor, or it's the health and safety rep or the joint health and safety committee. And sometimes there's a mindset amongst the worker, they're just there to work, and it's not their health and safety. It's not their responsibility for health and safety. But ultimately, the internal responsibility system is referring to it's everybody's responsibility. And what I like to say is, the employer, he or she has the most duties and responsibilities in regards to legislative requirements in regards to the farming operation. The supervisors, they are the eyes and ears of that employer when he or she is not there. But workers need to understand that they've got responsibilities as well. And, they've got a legal duty and responsibility to report hazards to their supervisor or to their employer. And as well, I also encourage that they report near misses. And the reporting of near misses should not be construed as, I got to go fill out a form. It very well could just be communicating that to their employer or supervisor. And then as well, in regards to the internal responsibility system, our health and safety rep or our joint health and safety committee, their job or their task is to monitor that system. But it's important that everybody understands at the operation, they do have a responsibility in regards to health and safety.
So Jay, once you pinpoint the hazards, talk about the need to understand some of the potential implications of those hazards.
Yeah, and one of the things that we commonly see is that a lot of these businesses tend to be more reactive as opposed to proactive. That, now I need to do something after an incident has occurred. But we strongly recommend to conduct, and we refer to them as hazard assessments or hazard identification risk assessments, to take a look at the jobs or the tasks that are being conducted at the operation. Am I working with chemicals? Am I operating equipment? Operating tractors, combines, skid steers? Am I handling, livestock? Hazards associated with working outdoors, physical hazards such as, heat and cold, being exposed to noise, radiation from the sun, to consider, what potentially could happen, to the worker if they're exposed to those hazards. And once I've identified that, then to determine, well, what is the risk level? Is it going to be major, moderate, or minor? Is it going to be, high, medium, or low? But to not just have a one and done. This is an ongoing thing to identify, hazards throughout the course of the season. There could be different hazards associated with planting, as opposed to when I'm in the midst of harvesting.
And when we're looking at some of the potential implications of those risks, it's not just about the worker themselves, but it could be somebody around them, like say a visitor, right? It could be the feed salesman, or maybe it's somebody dropping off lunch, stuff like that too.
I think it becomes very important not to, as you just alluded to, not to just focus in on the workers, but to consider, if it's a family farm that has employees. I always refer to that as not only is it a workplace, but it's a homestead. Could my kids be exposed to those hazards? We have contractors coming in. We have visitors that could be, stopping by. We're conducting a tour at the particular business. We need to ensure that the information of those hazards has been communicated to those three parties.
Is there a ranking when we look at some of the control hazards? Is there a ranking in terms of their effectiveness or how we prioritize them?
Yeah, we use the hierarchy of controls when we're conducting our sessions, and I'll go through them. That once you've identified that particular hazard, we want to start at the top. We want to work our way down. So we start with elimination. I've identified this hazard. Can I eliminate that hazard altogether? And I'll be quite honest, unless you're, removing the piece of equipment, we know that a common hazard in the farming sector is tractors. Well, we're not going to get rid of the tractor. But so if we can eliminate, can we substitute? Okay, so substitution, an example would be, if we're working with, chemicals, well, maybe there's a less hazardous chemical that I could use as opposed to what I'm using now. So substitution. Engineering becomes the third one. And engineering in the sense of, guarding, can I place barriers in between the hazard and the worker, followed by administrative. So I have policies, procedures in place. I've identified that hazard. I go back to the tractor. I've got a staff of 16 employees. Well, maybe I only have dedicated, designated individuals operating that tractor. And that would be in my standard operating procedure for tractor operation in regards to administrative. Awareness, okay? Awareness would be the second last one, and that could be in the form of signage. I'm walking into the maintenance shop at the farm. We've got a lot of equipment within the shop. I'm thinking of a bench grinder. We know it's noisy. Well, awareness could be in the form of having signage posted that hearing protection is required. And then finally, the last one is personal protective equipment. Is there a requirement to wear a dust mask? Is there a requirement to wear safety glasses? Is there a requirement to wear, as an example, hearing protection? What I would stress, though, is we always want to start at the top and then work our way down. Because when we look at PPE as the final one, and a lot of the times, firms' operations will just gravitate to the last one. But what I'm always stressing is, PPE is great, but we are relying on human compliance. Is there some possible way that we could put like an engineering control in place that maybe then we can, reduce the risk of that particular hazard as opposed to, the workers wearing PPE?
Let's talk about the role that training plays in trying to raise the bar in regards to some of these hazards.
Yeah, so when we look at training in regards to, of the workers, let's go back to, conducting that hazard assessment. I've conducted the hazard assessment. Maybe I've just done a small one. I've identified 10 hazards. Now I've ranked those hazards, high, medium, and low. We always recommend you find a hazard that is in the high to medium category. Let's put some type of policy in place. Let's have a standard operating procedure in regards to, being associated or working around that particular hazard. Training then becomes very important for those particular individuals, that they understand not only, the theory as well as the practical. Here is the theory in regards to our internal policy, but then that hands-on training of operating, let's say, a piece of equipment. And then to train on the hazards unique to the particular task. Again, is there going to be a requirement for personal protective equipment? And the key thing as well in regards to training, you need to ensure whether you're conducting a tailgate talk, whether you're conducting health and safety orientation that's going to take half the morning, that we document, so that we've got that proof to be able to demonstrate, due diligence from an employer standpoint.
So there's a lot of information here, and it's critical. It's not just the communication of some of the practical information, what you should do or shouldn't do, and things like that, but it's also making sure that that information has efficacy, right? It's being able to be absorbed and implemented. Are there things that we can do to increase the uptake of some of these things on the farm?
Yeah, WSPS, as we've progressed over the years in developing solutions, I know that on our agricultural landing page, any tailgate topic that we produce comes in both English, French, and Spanish. We need to be conscious of our work staff, and maybe English isn't their first language. You could create, small videos on your phone and then do translation over to then take that and provide that to those staff members. Another one in regards to communication, just a client that I just had visited recently, they had pointed out that they had created a group WhatsApp chat with all their workers. And in particular, they were using this during the summer months for when severe weather was approaching, and to be able to get it out there fast to those workers. But using WhatsApp, using the training, the small training video, using your phone, or pictograms would be another good focus for those workers if English isn't their first language.
From a Farm Safety 101 perspective, can you give us a summary again of stop, think, and act?
Pretty easy. Stop. We've identified the hazard. What's the worst possible case scenario that could occur once I've identified that hazard, right? And we all know worst possible case scenario could result in a fatality, okay? And that gets into the, once I've identified what the hazard is, right, to think, as I just kind of jumped ahead, how bad could it be? Could it result in a fatality? Could it result in a critical injury? And then to act, once I've identified that, using the hierarchy of controls, what types of controls can I put in place to not only reduce the risk, but also to protect my workers and my staff?
Great stuff. Jay, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Farm Safety Roundup.
Thanks very much, Shaun. Yeah,
great information. WSPS has some great new safety videos online, and here's the best part. They're in 4 different languages, as Jay was talking about, and they've got a whole bunch of other easy-to-use resources like how to film your own short safety videos, things like that, so you can use some your own examples from your own farm. Pretty cool. That'll increase some of the uptake with some of your farm employees as well. Hey, go to WSPS.ca/farm safety to find out more. I'm Shaun Haney of Real Agriculture, and thanks for joining us for this episode of the Farm Safety Roundup. With agricultural expertise to help keep farmers, their families, and their workers safe, Farm Safety Roundup is a podcast series produced by Real Agriculture with the team of ag specialists at Workplace Safety and Prevention Services. Go to the website WSPS.ca/farm safety. There you're going to find free health and safety resources, and you'll also be able to check this episode's show notes for information on the topics discussed. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time to talk all things farm safety right here on the Farm Safety Roundup.